Hey Ethan, this is Jim Ryan.
And this is Susan Ryan from New York City.
Congratulations on the first wonderful 50 episodes of Fans on the Run.
We're looking forward to many more great things from you. Here's to the next 50 and beyond.
Hello, Fans on the Run! Ethan, congrats, man, on your 50th show, your podcast. It's great. I've been on it, he's been on it. Maybe once in a while, these guys next, I don't know.
Yeah, I'd love to do it.
Continued success, Ethan. We'll see you at the 100th show. Cheers, mate.
And hi there, Ethan. This is Joe Mayo, a.k.a. Mean Mr. Mayo, and I'm really proud of you for having 50 great shows. Keep it up, and with you, my young friend, there is hope for the future.
Hey, Ethan, it's Ken Michaels here, and I heard you're celebrating your 50th episode. You almost have as many as we do. How dare you? But anyway, you've been doing a great job. Keep up the great work. You are representing the youth, the young Beatle fans, future generations, and don't want to put too much pressure on you by saying that. But keep up all the great work, and happy 50th from all of us.
Ethan, I want to offer you my sincere congratulations on your 50th episode of Fans on the Run. You know, it goes without saying, when you first kicked off this podcast, I knew not only was it a fantastic idea, it's also one that I know only you could have created, and it's been simply stunning. So here's to the next 50 episodes. And, oh, by the way, this is a special episode of Fans on the Run, a podcast made by, for, and about Beatles fans. And now, here's my friend and your host, Ethan Alexanian.
Hello. Wait, no, I'm not going to use that. That sounded weird. Actually,
it's like someone's pumped.
Yeah. Actually, no, I might just leave that in.
Yeah.
Because that's on brand.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, welcome back to Fans on the Run. Often imitated, never duplicated. Your favorite Kamikaze Beatles podcast. Well, who'da thunk? It's episode 50. It's also the first day of the new year, but it's episode 50. Does this really seem like the show that should have 50 episodes by now? The answer is probably no, but here we are. And, you know, I'm proud of this little ragtag show I've had so far. And I think I've gotten some really good guests along the way. And I'm really proud of it so far. And hopefully, you know, you out there listening have enjoyed it too. You know, I'm picking up new listeners all the time, and hopefully they stick around for the ride. And I'm stumbling over my words because I'm so emotional. No, speaking of good guests I've gotten so far, I have brought one back because this is the episode. This is all the other episodes have been building up to this, where everyone is asking me like, "What's your Beatles story? How did you listen to the Beatles?" And I've tried to dance around the subject. This is why today the tables have turned. I will turn it over now to my guest host. That's your cue.
Well, hello, everybody. The show is now mine. I'm taking it over. This is Kid O'Toole. I am the author of Songs We Were Singing, Guided Tours Through the Beatles' Lesser-Known Tracks, as well as Michael Jackson FAQ, All That's Left to Know About the Top. And I am so
Mikey
honored.
J.
Yep. Mickey J, MJ, and I am really thrilled to be a part of this very special episode. Ethan, I remember earlier in 2020 when you contacted me and said, "Hey, I've got this idea for a show, and I wondered what you think about this."
What do you think about it?
And as I thought then, I think it's a great idea to focus on the fans, because there are so many shows, and they're all great shows. I'm not putting them down at all. That
not naming names.
Yeah, not naming
names. That's my job.
Yeah, exactly. That's your job. But that talk about the music.
Hit me up at fansontheRunpodcast@gmail.com for specifics.
Right. That talk about the music, the Beatles years, or the solo years, like, Talk More Talk, a solo Beatles video cast that I co-host. That focus on that. Cheap plug. But
yeah, plug more plug.
one more plug. But not as many that talk about it from the fans' perspective, that focus on, how people became fans and how the group impacted their lives. And so when you came up with this idea and bounced the idea off of me, I was immediately all for it. And so 50 episodes later, my gosh, I mean, you have had so many great guests that have shared their stories, and I just think it's just been such a great addition to the podcast world, and really, Ethan, I congratulate you. You've done such a great job, and I can't wait for not only the next 50 episodes, but many more after that.
Oh yeah, this is the horse that I will never stop beating. Even
That's
after
right.
It's long dead.
That's right. But yes, the tables have turned on this episode, so I am going to be interviewing you about your fan experience, but I am going to have this be a little like a show that's actually before both our times, but you might have heard about it, a little bit like a show called This Is Your Life.
Oh?
Yes.
Oh?
But this is going to be This Is Your Musical Life.
Okay. I was going to say, sweet Jesus, how is this going to be This Is Your Life?
No, this is your musical life.
Okay.
And because I'm curious not only about how you became a Beatle fan, that's a big part of it, but I'm also kind of curious about you're so well-rounded musically. I mean, you're into all different kinds of music, and I think that's as important as how you became a Beatles fan. For me, other kinds of music got me into the Beatles too. So I'm kind of curious about that as well. So I want to not only talk about your Beatles experiences, but a little bit about how you first got into music, period. I want to go back in the mists of time to when you first started, really getting into music. Like after you kind of graduated, as we all do, from kiddie music.
Yeah.
What is your first memory of when you really started, like, paying attention to real music, real adult music? Can you think about what kind of bands and all did you start noticing? Like what kind of around what year do you remember really starting to get into regular music?
Well, funny enough, you mentioned kiddie music. I don't think I actually ever succumbed to kiddie music.
Really?
I feel like I'm kind of blessed in that way, that my musical experiences have been, kind of passed down to me by my parents, who, like, some of my earliest childhood memories are, like, in the car with my mom's iPod hooked up to the car speakers, playing, like, Bohemian Rhapsody and, This'll Be Good to Some People, Come Sail Away by Styx is one I remember.
Chicago
band, indeed. I'm kind of playing to the crowd here.
There you go.
But yeah, what's the name of that one song by Emerson, Lake and Palmer? It's like, welcome back, my friends.
Oh my God, I'm blanking out too. I'll look it up.
Number 9, I think.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yep. I'll look it up while you're talking.
But the first musician or band that I was really into, not just as liking songs by said musician or group, was actually your other area of expertise, Michael Jackson. Mm-hmm. Which it was shortly after he died, because I remember I had the swine flu the day he died. And so I was in bed, stuck. I wanted to watch cartoons. I was in my mom's room, and she wouldn't change the channel from CNN. And I'm like, why do I have to look at this weird, creepy, ghoulish man? But as it turns out, I ended up actually really liking said creepy, ghoulish man.
Mm-hmm.
Because the next thing I knew, I remembered my friend telling me about the scariest video he had ever seen, called Thriller. And so I'm like, okay, let me check out this Thriller. I was expecting it to be this, horrifying thing. But as it turns out, it was, Thriller.
The classic, of course.
And I feel like, especially with Michael Jackson, it was kind of my supervillain origin story as a collector. Because I remember being at the grocery store one day, and they had like this little spinning rack of CDs by the checkout. I saw this compilation called Number Ones. Mm-hmm. And I asked my mom, hey, can I get it? And she said, no, we can get it on iTunes. Look at me now, Ma.
Oh, man.
Yes, Mom, I do need 10 copies of Revolver. No, Mom, the German version isn't the same as the Dutch version. Thank you very much.
Oh, man. So, wow. I mean, and of course, completely, so really, so you started collecting, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was like full on collecting back then even. I remember buying some like Japanese imports, box sets at, God rest her soul, HMV.
Oh, yes.
And at the old Amoeba Records location on Sunset. The first time I went to LA. And I was, really into it then. And, going to used CD stores and saying, like, hey, how come the old CDs of the album Dangerous look different than the newer ones? And so began my fascination with pressings. And this is why I have no friends.
Oh, no. No, now, this is a good thing to bring up. So you started, like what kind of physical media then did you start with? Did you start with MP3s or did you start with CDs?
Yes. I started with MP3s.
MP3s, okay.
And then I've kind of worked my way a little backwards. I had, it was mostly CDs for a while. And then I actually got a few cassettes, and then I got a few LPs, and now it's pretty much anything, except mostly CDs. I don't buy CDs anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, wow. Okay. So, all right. So, you're doing this. So, what was your first concert that you ever went to?
My first concert? You know how I said I didn't succumb to kiddie music?
Yep.
That was a bit of a lie. My first concert was the Wiggles.
Oh my gosh! Wow. No, that was a first concert for a lot of kids, I think.
Probably.
Because I've heard other kids say that. I mean, they were huge.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
That was back before I realized that like people on TV are actual people too, and that you shouldn't be scared of them. Because I think I spent most of that concert hidden, like, under my mom's jacket. Because I was too afraid to look at them.
Oh.
I was terrified.
Oh. Oh, that's so sweet. What year was that?
I think it was, like, 2007.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's, you were, what, like 5? 4 or 5? Yeah, well, then that's, of course. Now, what then was your first, like, non-kiddie music concert?
That would have to be Paul McCartney.
Okay, so there you go.
Talk about starting off strong.
There you go.
Actually, wait, I think I saw a few tribute bands before I saw him. The first one was 1964, The Tribute, which I'm really glad that I have actually had Mark Benson on the show.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right. Yeah, you did. So, yeah, that was kind of full circle.
Full circle indeed.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. So, yeah, I mean, so, hey, I mean, but, that's the thing, though. I think no matter what your first concert is, I think you always remember it no matter what it was, because it's your first one. I mean, it's I think you remember what it was like being with lots of people, and it's your first one.
Well, I think of the McCartney one as my first proper concert, because I saw him at a Fenway Park in Boston.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
that's a pretty good first time.
Oh yeah, well, he wasn't playing any shows in Canada.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow! See, I tried some years ago to see him in Canada because I wanted him I wanted to see him do Mall of Kintyre, because of course he never does that in the States.
I saw him do it.
I know. I'm so jealous, and I came close. I was trying to get over, see him, but it fell through. So, what was it? I'm jumping a little around here, but
you're fitting in quite well.
Okay. But I always have to ask, what was it like the first time you saw Paul? I mean, what was it? I mean, I guess I certainly remember my first time seeing him in '89. What was it like for you as a fan?
See, the thing is, if I didn't like Paul McCartney so much, it would have been a generally negative experience.
Oh no!
It was, extremely hot outside.
Mm-hmm.
The artist in question showed up an hour and a half late.
Oh wow!
There was a drunk man behind me who spilled beer on my brand new tour T-shirt.
Oh, jeez.
And we had to leave before the concert was over, fully.
Oh, no.
That being said, it was Paul McCartney.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, if you've seen Paul, it's completely magical.
Yep.
You're just transported. Because it's like,
Yep.
This is the guy from the Beatles. This is Paul fucking McCartney. I am within a mile of Paul McCartney.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And especially seeing him outdoors. Well, not outdoor, but, baseball stadium.
Right.
So he had the full pyrotechnics, the fireworks shooting, it felt like a mile into the air during Live and Let Die.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember that too. Absolutely. Yeah, just being in the same vicinity. Mm-hmm. I remember just thinking, wow, I'm in the same vicinity as Paul McCartney.
I am within 50 yards of a Beatle.
Yep. You never forget the first time you see him. I always ask people, what it's like, and I always love going with people who've never seen him before, because it's so great to see their faces, like when he does Live and Let Die, mm-hmm. Stuff like that. I mean, it's just and I never tell them what's coming.
However, I will have to throw in a little bash here. Mm-hmm. I did not feel the same way when I saw Ringo.
Oh, okay. So I was actually that was going to be one of my questions. Have you ever seen Ringo?
I have seen. I saw Ringo and his all-star band. Mm-hmm. It was actually about 3 weeks after my dad passed away. Mm-hmm. So it was, the first kind of back to normal thing.
Yeah.
We drove down to Pittsburgh, mm-hmm. and we saw him at Heinz Hall, which I later found out Al Sussman was at the same gig.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. But I was a little less impressed. I think it was also because I had seen McCartney twice by that point. Mm-hmm. And using Paul McCartney as a benchmark is not fair to any other group or band.
It's a very different show.
Yes. Plus,
yep.
I like Men at Work, but mm-hmm. having to sit through, 3 Men at Work songs, 2 Toto songs, to get to, now he does Boys.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, see, with me, I was in my 80s kid geekdom, at that show, because these were all songs that I was into before the Beatles. And so,
I'm not saying I don't like Toto.
Oh,
but
no. Yep, in fact, yep.
It's if you paid the money for the man whose name is much, much larger on the poster than anyone else. In fact, I'm looking at the poster right now. It doesn't even say the All-Star Band anywhere. It just says Ringo.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Having to sit through 5 songs to wait to a Ringo song.
I know. Yep. But yeah, see, with me, it was, I was actually, of course, I was mainly there to see Ringo, too. But yeah, the other stuff I was like, and that actually leads up to my next question. So,
You've
so
perfected
as
the
I
art
just
of
said,
the segue.
Yep, it was a great segue.
It was fantastic.
Oh, thank you. Well, you helped set me up for it. So, so as I was saying, as part of this this is your musical life kind of discussion here. So, as I just said, going to that concert and hearing Men at Work and Toto and all, these were the groups that I was into and grew up on before I started getting into the Beatles. So, when did you first start, paying attention to the Beatles? When did you start, quotes, discovering them?
Well, the first time I actually realized I knew a Beatles song was, I had gotten the Michael Jackson album History, and on disc 2, there's a song by the name of Come Together on there. And so I'm like, oh, it's Come Together by Michael Jackson. And then finding out, no, it was a different band. It's like, who are the Beatles? And so I had kind of heard the name before, didn't really know what they were. I knew, my Uncle Paul really liked them. And so it's just kind of like, who are these Beatles? And then eventually I asked him, or actually, no. One day, I was sitting on the couch watching TV and, thinking about, who are the Beatles? And I remembered vaguely that there was this, wicker basket beside our couch that had, it was just kind of junk. We all have, shit like that.
Oh, of course.
And so there was a Peter, Paul, and Mary CD in there, but there was also one of those 1993 Fat Boy jewel case copies of the Blue Album. And so I went up to my CD player, and I think, I know I've said this story before, but I still love saying it. What really got me hooked, which is weird because track 1 is Strawberry Fields Forever, and you would think that would be what hooked me. No. What got me was seeing the track number jump from 3 to 4 with Sgt. Pepper and With a Little Help from My Friends. Just the seamless transition. And it's like, wait, these are 2 different songs? That doesn't make sense. No. These are the same song. My CD player's broken. Turns out it wasn't.
Wow. Now, how old were you at this point?
I was 8.
Okay. So, yeah, well, that would be kind of, mind-blowing at 8 years old.
And that was actually, my proper introduction to the Beatles was basically, a scavenger hunt around my house for anything Beatles-related. Because we also had, in our, family room, some coffee table books, and in there was this book called The Beatles Anthology.
Yeah.
So that was my introduction, the Blue Album and the Anthology book.
Ethan, Tom here.
And Andy.
And this is Two Legs, a Paul McCartney podcast, and we want to congratulate you on your 50th episode.
Well done, Ethan.
Hey, buddy, we are proud of you, and we want you to have continued success, so keep those episodes coming.
And keep peace in the neighborhood, man.
Take care, buddy.
Hey, Lonnie. Did you hear the news?
What's the news?
Ethan Alexanian.
What about him, the young Canadian?
Our good friend, the young Canadian, his show, Fans on the Run, has hit 50 episodes.
Wow. I cannot believe that. 50.
Of course, we're up at what? We're getting close to 300 now.
Yeah, but that's incredible. I love the fact that he's bringing his youth to the Beatle Kingdom, a podcast, and a different perspective altogether.
Exactly. We need more Canadians doing regular shows.
Hey, what was that?
Happy anniversary, Ethan. 50 shows. You'll catch up to us sometime, maybe.
Happy 50th, Ethan.
Wow. My gosh. Now, yeah, and that is actually the Michael Jackson part of it. Despite our age differences, that's something we have in common. That Michael Jackson kind of brought us both to the Beatles, because that was, with me, it was, back in the early 80s when, Thriller was huge, and then of course Paul and Michael did those duets together.
Yeah.
And I knew who the Beatles were at that point, but but I kind of I bought Pipes of Peace, as we talked about, because of that, and then that helped. That initially got the ball rolling, but yeah, I mean, it's really funny that we kind of have that in common, that Michael Jackson kind of was the catalyst that for both of us in different ways.
Yeah.
I mean, so
funny world.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, that's amazing. So, okay, so you found the Blue album, and then you found Anthology, the book. So how did it go from there? Did you start buying more albums? How did it how did you go on to discover more about them?
Well, I can tell you the second album I got, and this is going to be a really creative answer. Mm-hmm. It was the Red Album.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it was just around the time, this is going to make me sound really young, when the Red Album got reissued on CD, like after the 2009 reissues. So it was when it got reissued as that little, trifold sleeve thing. Mm-hmm. And so I ran out to HMV, got that, and I really am nostalgic for those days when it's, the Beatles music was still kind of new.
Yeah.
And, infecting all my friends on the playground, like saying, like, hey, you gotta listen to these guys.
Yep. Absolutely.
My friend and I singing Help, at recess. Oh, God.
Oh, man. Now, okay, and that is another question I'm going to ask you, but I'm going to save that for a second. But what was it about the Beatles music that grabbed you? What was it that you connected with at that moment?
The funny thing is here, I don't know. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is. I guess it's I had been drawn to Michael Jackson because he was, a character. Mm-hmm. And I think I was kind of drawn to the Beatles in that same way, because it's for characters.
Interesting.
Like some of the first pieces of Beatles memorabilia I owned, before I even owned all the albums, was I had these action figures of the Beatles in, like, their Yellow Submarine stuff. Mm-hmm. I got that, like, Christmas of 2010.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that's usually a lot of kids first introduction to the Beatles, although that wasn't quite your first, was Yellow Submarine.
Well, now that I'm thinking about it, you just unlocked a memory I forgot I had, which is funny because it has nothing to do with Yellow Submarine.
Mm-hmm.
But I was thinking about the movie, and then I remembered the first Beatles movie I think I got was A Hard Day's Night on DVD. And I was calling around, my mom was calling around to all the, HMVs in the area, trying to see if anyone had a copy of A Hard Day's Night. And the one in Cambridge, Ontario did. So we, drove down there, ran in and got Hard Day's Night.
Wow.
And so that was my first, movie introduction to the Beatles.
Wow. And what was your reaction to that when you first saw the Hard Day's Night?
Oh, I loved it. It's the Beatles, which it's just the Beatles acting Beatley, which to my 8-year-old, 9-year-old brain was just the best thing in the world. And then, of course, I ended up getting, Help and Yellow Submarine and not so much Magical Mystery Tour. That waited a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember seeing it on store shelves before it got properly reissued, thinking, what the fuck is this? Huh. Wow,
That was pretty much my reaction when I first saw it too. I'm like, this is the Beatles?
I didn't even watch the movie. I was just looking at the DVD, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, that absolutely. So now you mentioned your friends, and that was another. You're kind of anticipating all my questions. Wow, we're right in sync here. So
No, that's a different band altogether.
yeah, right. Yeah, that's a whole other thing.
Yes.
So yeah, that was something I was curious about because that was something that I found interesting. So, as you're getting older, you're getting into, middle school and high school, and you're getting, more and more into the Beatles. Yeah, were you like the only one of your friends that were really into them, or did you end up converting your friends, or
I ended up actually converting we're about 3 or 4.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we would, listen to the Beatles together. We would talk about the Beatles. We would go to, my school library, who had a small selection of, books of, involving popular music, which, even though my school opened in the early 2000s, some of those books kind of capped off at, the late 80s.
Oh, yeah.
But there was, this book called, John's Secret Dreams that I remember quite vividly, because my school had a copy of that. And then there was this other one, it was just history of popular music. It's hey, the Beatles. They existed. It's wow. And so I would, take that book, or sign that book out of the library, once a month.
Wow. Yeah, see, it was interesting, because in my case, what really helped convert some of my friends was the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Ah, yes.
When Twist and Shout was used. And then all of a sudden, my friends were all of a sudden hey, this song's pretty good.
Were they dismayed when they went out to buy, the song, and they found there was no trumpets?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there were the trumpets.
Yeah. The fuck is this?
Yeah.
I heard trumpets in the movie.
Yeah, but yeah, that was a big help. But up until then, it was kind of the Beatles, yeah, kind of an old group. I mean, so it was, I was not
by the time I got to them, it kind of reached the point where it wasn't oh, it's an old band. Well, I mean, they are an old band, but it was, what is old is cool again. Mm-hmm. And so the Beatles were retro.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking as you were saying that. It was probably the retro appeal, and yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, interesting. So it wasn't, so you weren't considered, it wasn't oh, you were the only one that...
I wasn't the only one, but I was still thought of as, that Beatles kid.
Yeah. Okay,
I never shut up about the Beatles.
You were hooked.
Oh, yeah. And
Absolutely.
The funny thing is, now that I think about it, it didn't take that long for me, to become a full steam, capital F fan. Mm-hmm. Even 2 or 3 years after I, listened to them for the first time, I was in Liverpool.
Wow.
Yeah, taking like a cab tour of all the Beatles sites. Going to London and seeing like a tribute band and like buying Beatles records at Camden Market.
Oh man, I'm jealous. I didn't get to Liverpool till I was like in my 20s. So that's so good for you. That's great.
Oh yeah. I really want to go back now that I
Me
actually
too.
have friends.
Me
there.
too. Me too. Oh, when all this insanity's over, that's on my list of things to do. Absolutely.
I'm surprised it took me so long because, my mom has always been really supportive of all this stuff. Taking me to concerts, buying me Beatles records.
Yep.
It took me so long to get to the fest because I had always heard of this Beatle Fest. Like, I knew, like, for a long time what it was, but I never went until last year.
Yep. All right, and I'm going to get to that later.
Okay.
So hang on
I'm
to
jumping
that.
the gun here.
No, that's okay. That's okay. But no, I definitely want to talk to you about that later because I absolutely. But hang on to that because I'm want to continue on with your life here. So, all right. So let's go back to, you mentioned books. So that's another thing. That's kind of the next step. In your Beatles journey is so books. You mentioned the kind of general books you found in your library. So obviously you went on to to others.
Yes.
What were some of the ones that you remember reading? Like some of the first ones that of like the quotes. The ones the Beatle Bibles that we all kind of read. Do you remember the first ones that you got into?
Well, I actually didn't read any of those so-called like Beatle Bible books for a long time. But I had a number of books about the Beatles. Like, there's this one I got for Christmas called like The Beatles Exposed or Beatles Uncovered. I don't know what the hell it's called.
Oh, I think I remember that.
Yeah, the cover is like them in the studio for Sgt. Pepper. I still have it. It's just I don't remember.
That rings a bell.
Yeah. And, it was just kind of general books like that by like no-name authors just about the Beatles.
Yep. And that's true. You do kind of start out with those and then you start getting into the serious stuff. It sound like it's drugs or something.
Yeah.
Then you get into serious stuff.
Yeah. First you get like the Beatles' life in pictures. Then you get hooked on that Lewis and stuff, baby.
That's right. Jeez, I make it sound so serious. So, all right,
This is your brain on Philip Norman. Any questions?
Oh, that's great. Man. Yeah, you take this the wrong way. All right. Because we're all perfectly healthy. All right.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, well, that's true. All right. So when did you start? Because you're really into the solo stuff, too. Which really impresses me because, sometimes you talk to people, and actually not just, younger people, but I mean, I've talked to some older people that even like, once the Beatles broke up, they're like, oh, I don't pay attention to the solo years. And ever since I, started doing Talk More Talk, I'm amazed at some people that just, don't know a lot about the solo years. And you really do. So when did you start then going into the solo catalog?
Well, my uncle, who was actually guest number 1 on Fans of the Run, I've already mentioned him on this episode even. Around that same time, even before I owned like any of the Beatles albums, he burned me these 4 CDs of like the best, or like homemade CDs of like the best of John Lennon, the best of Paul McCartney, the best of George Harrison, and the best of Ringo Starr. And it was all solo stuff. And I can't claim to be as, much of an expert or mega fan of the solo stuff as some. But, I I actually knew some of the solo stuff before I knew, like, some of the Beatles stuff. And I'm saying that even just as, or I don't know where I was going with that. But I remember one of those songs on, like, my mom's iPod when I was a kid was Live and Let Die. Mm-hmm. And Live and Let Die was also in the movie Shrek the Third.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
So that's kind of where I knew that from. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, it's the guy from Shrek the Third. Him.
But it's true. I mean, we do get exposed to that stuff in different ways.
And
I mean,
kind of similar. I knew the song by Weird Al Yankovic. This song's just 6 words long. Before I knew "Got My Mind Set on You."
Oh yeah, that's right. Forgot about that too.
Yeah. Which that's a whole debate in and of itself. It's like the word that's not 6 words long. That's 7. Like no, there's an apostrophe. There's a yeah.
Oh man. That's, and you mentioned that. Yeah, that was another thing that finally got my friends a little bit more on board with the Beatles thing. Was when George Harrison had that huge hit, huge comeback in '87.
Oh
yeah. Then they're like, who's this guy? Yeah, that was another thing. But
I think the reason why I've clicked so much with George's solo career more than anyone is because he was the one that I think I had the most exposure to when I first started listening to the Beatles. Mm-hmm. I have as many fond memories of the song, like When We Was Fab, mm-hmm. as any of the other early, or have as many fond memories of that as any of the other Beatles songs.
Interesting. That's a really good point, because probably that's why, Paul is probably,
Well, same with me here.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I feel sometimes a little frosty towards John and Ringo's. Mm-hmm. It's because, I was exposed to Paul and George. Not exposed, but...
Right. You had the most, they were the most active in terms of, in my case, Paul was still making hits when I was, when I was born and into the 80s. So, and same with George. So, if you grow up more with their music, if you're, you are exposed more to their music, then you tend to, I think, gravitate more toward them than those that, with John, he was gone by the time I was 8. Yeah. So I didn't really grow up with him as much. So, I love John.
Yeah.
But I'm probably not quite as connected to him. I think that's natural. But that's a really good point. So,
actually, I just remembered something else. Mm-hmm. I think the biggest catalyst for me becoming as much of a Beatles fan as I am is because of my dad. Because my dad, you and I respect piracy laws for the most part.
Of course.
My dad didn't exactly fear them, mm-hmm. to put it lightly. And so one of the first things Beatle-related I got was a thumb drive with the 2009 remasters. And for some odd reason, the Beatles EP collection was also on there.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, before I even knew what, the US albums... Actually, no. Oh, wow, I'm just stumbling over memories here. The first, aside from the Red and Blue, the only Beatles albums on our home computer were... It was the Capitol Albums Volume 1 box set for some weird reason.
Wow.
So the first time I heard, She Loves You and Roll Over Beethoven were those, weird Capitol mixes.
Mm-hmm. My gosh, wow. Now, see, and that's, of course, what I grew up on initially, because that's it. That's all that was available.
Those were the Beatles albums.
Absolutely. When the CDs came out, in '87, I think it was.
Yeah.
I mean, that was so weird for me. I mean, but wow, that's really interesting that you started, and I should say, shout out to Bruce Spicer for that Capitol set. That came out years later. He was responsible. He really pushed for that set to come out, the Capitol albums. He felt it was really important to put out that box set to still have those available on CD. So shout out to our buddy Bruce.
And actually also shout out to next week's episode, the one that's Chip Matting.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Shout out to Chip.
He did some work on the Capitol Albums box.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Shout out to both. Yeah.
That was one of the first kind of big ticket Beatles albums I actually bought, too.
Mm-hmm.
I was in Florida in like March of 2011, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
And I was at that store, FYE.
Mm-hmm.
And so...
Yep, I remember that.
There was always, a couple, kind of bigger ticket items as opposed to your normal, like, $9.99 CD. Mm-hmm. Like, there were the anthologies, there was the BBC, and then occasionally, if you were lucky, they would have, like, the Capitol albums or the EP or singles box sets. I always remember ogling those from, like, behind glass in most record stores.
Yep. And then that's your next step in usually in the Beatles addiction is going on to buying the big ticket items, as you said.
Well, this I don't know if this will make me sound spoiled.
Mm.
My first proper collection that I owned was the Beatles in Mono CD box.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Like, I gotten, like, good marks on my report card or something.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom was like, I'll get you a little special treat. Mm-hmm. And so she got me that box off of Amazon.
Oh, wow. That is so cool. And I think that's really important. I mean, that's the other thing. And I think another thing we both have in common is very supportive parents. Because I think because my parents too. I mean, they were extremely supportive and very interested in music. So I mean, they initially, I mean, we were huge in indulging me in all this stuff and as I mentioned on your show all those months ago, my dad used to play some Beatles songs on guitar and all that. So I think that's really important that, whether it's your parents or other relatives or friends or whatever, that, they expose you to music early. And I mean, it's going to imprint on you.
Do you know who is actually the main catalyst for me wanting that Beatles in Mono box?
Who?
Previous guest of the show, John Montagna.
Really?
Because, when I first started, again, I'm a child of the internet, so I spent hours and hours on YouTube, like, searching Beatles or, like, Beatles collection, and watching these people. And then there's this one guy doing these reviews of Beatle albums, like Beatles remastered CDs, and it's John.
Yep.
Wow. And then all these years later, like nearly 10 years later, I had him on the show.
Oh, wow. We were talking before the show about a full circle moment. That's another full circle moment for you.
First, full circle indeed.
Yeah.
Like, it was like when I had, Joe Mayo on the show. I've been watching him for years.
Wow. So, and actually, that brings up another good question. So, I mean, how did the internet, affect your growth in the Beatles community and as a fan? I mean, how did that, affect you? Like, did you, join certain groups? Did you, how did that work?
I didn't really, like, join groups per se, but I feel like that's kind of why I didn't pick up on some of those Beatle Bible books, was because they had been kind of supplemented by something called Wikipedia.
Yeah, true.
And so I would just spend hours learning everything I could about the Beatles on the internet. Watching all these, illegal uploaded YouTube videos of the Beatles, music videos.
Yep.
back before they were official.
Yep. Wow. That is so, yeah, I mean, that is so cool. I mean, that, because when I was, God, I saw, when I was your age, but it's true that, I mean, the only place you could see those were the Fest. I mean, it was, or maybe, through underground sources, shall we say, So, yeah, I mean, YouTube was just like, when that finally came, I mean, that's a treasure trove. I mean,
I think that's maybe why I picked up on, like, when we was Fab, because that video was never not readily available through, let's say, less than legal measures on YouTube.
Yep. Exactly. So that is the truth. So, all right, now talking about Fest, let's get to that.
Wait, I just remembered something even different.
Oh, great!
You're just kind of making me unlock all these memories.
Good.
And again, I've said this on the show before. I don't know why it took me so long to remember. The main catalyst that got me into collecting Beatles, like Beatles records, was the Paul is Dead rumor.
Oh, yeah, you've mentioned that. But Paul is dead before you're interested in that.
Because, my uncle, same uncle, told me that, like, oh, yeah, if you play these, like, records backwards, it says Paul is dead. And, if you hold, like, a butter knife up to the Sgt. Pepper drum, it says 111X, he die. And he... One time, like, he came out to, like, visit my mom and I, and he said, like, go do some research and then come back to me with findings.
Oh my god!
And so I spent, like, an hour or two watching all these conspiracy videos on YouTube, like, or on the song, I Am the Walrus. At the end, you can hear King Lear. It's like, bury my body. And so I, like, wrote them all out, and I brought him back, and he's like, oh, wow, there's a lot more clues than I thought there were.
So he, like, gave you homework.
He did.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that's why I bought my first Beatles LP. I bought a copy of Sgt. Pepper because I wanted to see if that actually happened.
Oh, my God.
And
oh, that's so funny.
I feel like I'm a youngin', but I'm a weird youngin', because some of my, like, formative Beatle years, like, when it comes to Beatles records, they weren't in print. So if you're lucky, you would, like, go to a used store and they'd have, like, old Beatles records. The only in-print stuff was, like, one Yellow Submarine song track, Love, and Let It Be Naked.
Right.
So those were, like, some of my first ones I had, because you could actually find them. Which, funny enough now, Let It Be Naked is very, very out of print.
Yes. That's very hard to find.
Which I feel bad now, because I kind of trashed my original copy from loving it too much.
Oh. Yep. I think you can still get it maybe in the Fest catalog, but other than that, I don't know. Yep.
I think I could probably still find it, like, sub $100.
Yep. It's going to cost you. That's true. So, yeah.
I've learned that by now.
Yes.
If you want something, it'll cost you.
It'll cost you. That's right. That's for sure. So
them Beatles don't like giving things away.
Yep, we've learned that, haven't we?
Yeah.
It's not cheap to be a Beatles fan.
No.
It isn't, but
actually, there was one other Beatles album in print. It was Abbey Road.
Oh, right.
That was the only one from the main catalog that was in print on LP.
Wow. Oh, my God.
So I would always get frustrated going to record stores, like, where's your Beatles section? It's like, oh, it's right here. And, like, the one album they have is Abbey Road.
Yeah.
Fuck you. But that's also why I liked going to record stores so much, because if you saw, like, they had a big Beatles selection, it actually meant they had, like, unique things, and it wasn't just the 2012 reissues, like 4 of each.
Right. Yep.
I'm just venting now.
No, it's true, though. Absolutely. Oh, man. It's so funny. It's true, though.
Yeah. Anyways, I interrupted you.
Oh, no,
Fest?
not at all. No, all right. now I've been really interested to get to this part as we move in your musical life journey. So now we get
as we move towards the end of your life journey.
Well, not really. It's still kind of the beginning.
Yeah.
So your first fest
that's rather optimistic.
Yeah. Your first fest experience. I've been dying to talk to you about it. I mean, we've talked about it a bit.
Oh, you were there.
But exactly. But I mean, we haven't really talked about it, super extensively. So last year, your first fest in Chicago, where we first met, and you met a lot of other, of our common friends and everything. So, I certainly remember what my first fest experience was like back in, and so you can just imagine when that was. So, what was it like for you? Just when you walked in.
Yeah.
What was your first impression?
Hi, everyone. This is Jude Sutherland Kessler, author of the John Lennon series.
And this is Lena Stagg, the author of the Recipe Records Cookbook series.
And together, we're the co-hosts of the She Said podcast.
You can find our podcast at www.podbean.com, as well as Spotify and YouTube.
And we're so excited to be here today to congratulate Ethan Alexanian on the 50th episode of his wonderful Fans on the Run podcast. What we'd like to say to Ethan today is
congratulations.
Hi everyone, it's Plastic EP here. I know you know me, but do you know Ethan Alexanian? Yeah, he's got a fantastic podcast called Fans on the Run. I want to tell him congratulations on hitting 50 fantastic show. Make sure you listen to his podcast. I love the guy. I either call him Ethan or Nathan, he knows. Also, I call his show not Fans on the Run, Guests on the Run. But make sure, if you're lucky enough to get on that podcast, I'm telling you, it's a great podcast.
Hello, my name is Nathan Liu, and I portray Paul McCartney in All You Need Is Love, tribute to the Fab Four Beatles tribute band from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And I'm here today to talk about my good friend Ethan Alexanian. And first of all, we want to say hi to Ethan and congratulate him from all the boys, Van, Reed, Aaron, Brian. And we want to wish you on your 50th podcast, Ethan. And I first met Ethan when he was 17 years old. And this young man is quite knowledgeable about Beatles. Ethan is able to keep up with, hold his own on the Beatles subject with us old veterans that, we started in the 60s and we got our information from books and things like that. And, nowadays you can get information quite quick, and Ethan's quite knowledgeable on the subject, and he also plays guitar, and he's very good at knowing the licks and the chords and knowing the right ones for the Beatles. And back in the day when I tried to do that, we didn't have any YouTube tutorials or anything like that. So it's great to be young, and somebody like Ethan Alexanian is a young man of 18, and it's great to see that he's into the Beatles as much as us veterans are. And another thing that impresses me about Ethan is for all his Fans on the Run podcasts that he does, he designs a special little album and he puts our pictures on there, and he's very good at graphics. So, I take my hat off for you there on that. Ethan, you're very good at that. Congratulations. And, I just wanted to wish you all the best, Ethan. You are the king of podcasts. You're the youngest man doing the podcast, and you have wonderful guests, and you're very good at what you do. And all the best to you. And have a great 50th podcast. We'll be listening, and take care, Ethan. Ciao now.
Yeah. Well, the main catalyst for actually finally going to the fest was the year after my dad passed away.
Yes.
And we had just gotten out of a pretty nasty situation with some family members. And so my mom was trying to, like, cheer me up.
Yeah.
And she's like, you know what, let's go to this thing. And so, you know, we drive to Chicago. I go to of course, the legendary Chicago Music Exchange first.
Of course.
And I got to try out some Beatle guitars to get in the mood. But then I walk into the O'Hare Hyatt Regency.
Yep.
And, like, the first thing I noticed was that they're pumping Beatles music through the speakers. And it's like, okay, they know their audience. And the second thing I noticed was that they had a little station set up with Kool Aid. And, like, I had some thoughts going into this, like, is this going to be like a cult or something? And then when I saw the Kool Aid, I'm like, okay, so it's like full-on Jonestown. Like, fine, drink the pool. And it was actually purple Kool Aid, too. It's like, sweet Jesus.
Just go with it.
And I was so impatient because I got there early and, you know, the marketplace wasn't open and barely anything was going on. And so I was just kind of stumbling around down there looking for something to do. And I saw this guy had his room open and I saw these drum sets. And that guy was Gary Astridge.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And so that's how I met Gary.
Yep.
And
Great guy.
Of course, the main thing I was most excited for with the fest was the marketplace. Because I had seen videos of, like, people flipping through the records there. And it's like, oh my god. And so I saved up a couple $100.
Mm-hmm.
And I went fucking wild.
Of course, that's what you do there.
And of course I brought, you know, my Mark Lewison books to get signed. Like, there were 3 members of Wings there, and the person I was most excited to meet was Mark Lewison.
Well, yeah, of course. Yeah. I understand.
I mean, Denny Lane didn't write Tune In.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mark, if you're listening to this, and I know you are, you know my email.
Yep.
Look up the number.
Absolutely. Get in touch, Mark.
Yeah. But, yeah, that was actually also how I first met you. And, actually, I think I met you first. Because there was this trivia thing going on. I'm like, oh, I should get in on that. And, of course, I kicked ass.
Yes, you did.
And there's this kind of group in there of people who now I consider to be friends, like Sarah Schmidt, my dear friend Susan Ryan, you,
yep,
and, you know, a lot of other people whose names I am blanking on right now.
Yeah, you met a lot of people that day on the weekend, I'm sure.
There was a lot of people. But the first, like, proper encounter I had with you was bailing, or I went to the Talk More Talk live thing with Mark Lewison.
Yep. I remember that.
And, do you want to tell the story? I want to see if you remember it as well as I do.
I remember, yep, it was funny because, it was this Talk More Talk thing, and it was, you know, Ken Womack, me, and Mark Lewison, because Tom and I don't think Joe Mayo was part of the show yet. I don't think
he was, because I had heard of the show, thinking, oh, that's me, Mr. Mayo's
okay,
podcast.
So maybe he had, like, just joined, like, you know, I'm not sure, or he may not have been a regular yet. I'm not sure the whole sequence of events, but he and Tom and Ken Michaels weren't able to come. So it was going to be just, you know, Ken Womack and me. And so we asked Mark if, you know, he'd like to come on with us, and he said yes, but he wanted to do something really different. You know, he didn't want to just do a discussion. And so Ken came up with the idea of a trivia contest. And so he was down with that. And so, you know,
Ken,
so we
you reap what you sow.
Yeah, right. And so Mark said, fine, that sounded fine to him. So we pulled questions from the Trivial Pursuit game. And so
that was actually also one of the first Beatle things I owned.
Yep,
I got it for Christmas that year, like back in 2010. My mom got me Beatles Trivial Pursuit.
Yep, that's right. Yeah.
So my early Beatles fandom memories, like, involve, like, we had a board game day, like, it was like the end of school, and, people brought in, like, I don't know, normal board games, and I brought in the Beatles Trivial Pursuit.
Well, so this moment at the fest was kind of another full circle moment for you in a way.
Yeah.
Kind of. So anyway, so we did that. We were having this game, and so the three of us were up there, and to my surprise, I was doing pretty well for a while.
Yeah,
and
it was pretty tight.
It was pretty tight for a while. Yeah, Mark and I were pretty tight, and Ken was, struggling a little bit at times, and I see Ethan in the front row, and you had bought, a bunch of albums in the marketplace, and Ken would, like, there'd be some question work about a certain album or something.
I know which album it was.
Yeah, that part I don't remember.
It was, I remember what question, because the episode exists.
Mm-hmm. It's on YouTube. You can see it. Yeah.
It was on the cover of the album Live Peace in Toronto, or what is on the cover of Live Peace in Toronto, and I had brought a copy to get it signed by Alan White.
Oh, okay, so it was already your copy. Okay.
So I kind of whipped it out of my bag and held it up and was just aggressively pointing to it.
Yeah,
and after some encouragement from Mark Lewison to look, Mean Mr. Monmouth looked...
Mean Mr. Monmouth.
he looked over in my direction. And he's been in debt to me ever since.
That's right. And I think, didn't you help him one other time during the... I thought you did, like, one other time during the contest.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I thought there was... Yeah, I thought... But it was so funny. And, and it was a fun, fun event. And so, that was the first
Mr.
time.
Monmouth.
Mean
I'm
Mr.
pretty
Monmouth.
proud of that.
That's really good. Yep, we're gonna have to share that with Ken later. That's cute. I like it. And so that was the first time. And I remember Susan telling me, our dear friend Susan, that like sometime after that, we were talking about you, and that, how we both met you, and how impressed we were, and she said she remembered saying to you at one point something like, I forget how precisely she said it, but it was basically something like, kid, I'm impressed, you're going to go places. It was something like that. You're one of us now. I think she said.
She did say that.
Something like that, yeah. Yep. And, because, we were all, impressed with how much you knew, and and you were just, so nice, and then just fit in really, really well.
You thought I was nice until you got to know me.
That's not true.
Yeah, now you see me for the megalomaniac monster I am.
Oh, give me a break. But, but yeah, now what you said when you went, you didn't know anybody, right?
No, I didn't know a soul.
Yeah. And, but you felt, did you, you said you walked out of there, knowing a lot of people.
Yeah, I felt like I walked out of there with a second family.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's really nice.
Because I was just blown away at how nice everyone was. That's what's kind of stuck with me. Mm-hmm. It's like, these people have no right being as nice as they were to me.
Oh.
And it was just like random people, coming up and sitting with me and, chatting. There's this one guy who I wish I remembered his name. We were like buddies for the day, and we went from like panel to panel with each other. Mm-hmm. He was showing me, you Fest people would know this issue of Go to the Window.
Yes.
And I didn't know what it was, nor did I get any of the in-jokes. But I was laughing anyways. Because it's like, oh, Wally for president. Oh, that's Wally right there. He's the one with the bow tie.
Yep. Yeah, you'll get him from now on.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I have a pretty decent working knowledge of the Fest.
Yep. Now, for those listening in, this is a Chicago thing. This is not at New York Fests. And I don't know why, but it's only in Chicago. It's this newsletter, quotes, that circulates usually on Sunday. And it's an underground newsletter, and it's satire. You know, it's satire. It's all in fun, and it's just kind of about the fest. A lot of in jokes. If you've been going to the fest for more than like a year or two, you'll get it. Yeah. And although there are some in jokes that even I don't get. I mean, sometimes they go back from like into the 80s, and I wasn't going then, so I don't get them. But they're all in good fun, and so yeah, you know your fest insider when you can start referring to go to the window.
Yeah.
So it's as I said, a lot of fun. But
apologies to Mark Lapidus for mentioning go to the window.
Yes, but I think he knows too. It's all in good fun, and you know, and so you know, so you really, I mean, that's, you know, I'm glad that you really enjoyed it, and I think people are friendly there, and I'm glad that, you know, you had such a great experience, because I think everybody like remembers their first fest, and you know, and I think people wanted to make it, you know, good, like they figured it was your first fest, and they wanted to make it a good experience for you.
Well, they certainly fucking succeeded.
Good. Well, once everything's normal again,
like even by Sunday, like Tom Frangione was like, you know, palling around with me during one of the trivia things.
Nice.
Like, hey, here's the winner from yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, by next time, you know, when everything's back to normal and we're all back in person again, I know you'll be back.
I don't know if I'll be competing in the trivia, because I feel like I'm rusty now.
Yeah, well, you got to start rehearsing.
I did the virtual trivia, and I don't know if it was just because my internet was a little slow, but there was a delay, and I didn't get any of the answers. And so I felt dejected, and it's like, well, now I'm just a lowly podcast host.
Oh, no. It was probably the delay.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure it was.
I want to wipe the floor with those people.
Oh, no. Oh, man. So, so, I mean, that was the next big step. So, well, the next step will be, as I said, when we're all in person, you know, I have a very good feeling you're going to be a lot more involved in the fest in years to come.
I hope so.
I think you will be. Absolutely. So,
10 years I'll be running the fucking place.
Yeah, that's right. You got it. All right. So, since we are heading toward the end of your musical life so far, we'll be, you know, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, we're going to keep revisiting the This Is Your Musical Life and you know, and revisit. But we'll do kind of a quick round to finish this. So
would these mayhaps be called the Quickfire questions that I pull out?
Yes, that's right. So I know it's kind of a tradition on your show, so we have to honor the traditions.
It's almost like they were in the notes.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't want to completely go astray from your notes.
Yeah.
So
like you're being the guest host and you still aren't copying my show.
Yeah, that's right.
Unlike some people.
Uh-huh.
Again, fansontheRunpodcast@gmail.com.
There you go. Exactly.
You can get my underground newsletter.
That's right. That's right. Your underground one.
Yeah.
All right.
Tales from a Beatles podcast insider.
Yeah, there you go.
You won't believe what Ed Chen said. Just kidding.
We love you, Ed.
Love you, Ed.
All right.
And Lonnie.
We
can't forget Lonnie.
Of course. Can't forget Lonnie. Oh, we love them both, obviously. All right. Favorite Beatles song?
Okay, now I see what people mean when they say this is hard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tables are turned.
Actually, you know I'll not be a bitch. It's all too much. That's That's my favorite right now.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I'm not judging. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Wow, interesting.
It's kind of been in that sphere, like for years. My answers have kind of rotated between she said, name of another great podcast.
Yes, indeed.
Heinlein and Jude.
Yep.
She said, Tomorrow Never Knows. For a while, it was only a Northern song, and now it's all too much.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So I mean, you definitely are, which I completely, I see why more of the like experimental kind of. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and Tomorrow Never Knows is probably my favorite.
Oh yeah.
So
well, that's what you said.
Yep.
On your episode, I remember.
Indeed. So
I'm a good host. I remember.
Yes,
these things.
you remember absolutely. So that's I'm with you on the experimental stuff. Absolutely. So all right, least favorite
Beatles song. Okay, Long and Winding Road.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's been more people have said
Actually,
that.
You know
recently.
what? Some people have a hard time giving least favorite Beatles songs. I'll make up for that. I'll give you a top 5.
Oh, all right.
I have opinions.
Okay, absolutely.
Okay.
I know.
Long and Winding Road. Can't stand it anymore.
Okay.
Yesterday. Don't like it very much.
Mm-hmm.
Long, Long, Long.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of describes the song.
Yep.
Till There Was You. I think I've already gone past 5. I'll Follow the Sun.
Mm-hmm. Okay, interesting.
Yeah. I can keep going, but I'm not
No,
going to.
that's all right.
Yeah. I don't want to alienate myself further. It's like, did this motherfucker just say, I'll follow the sun? Who does this punk-ass kid think he is? As Tom Hunyadi likes to call me.
Is that what he calls you?
Calls me punk-ass kid.
Oh my God, that's so funny. Oh man! Now, if you had said Magneto and Titanium Man,
I like that song.
Yeah, see, he still ribs me about that because I don't like that one.
What? You don't?
No, I don't.
It's not even the worst song on Venus and Mars.
I know. It's just I don't know.
Like,
it's
what the hell's the name of those last 2 clunkers on the album? Like the song about the retirement old folks home.
Oh, yeah, blanking out. Yeah, I mean the whole album is not one of my favorites. Sorry, Tom.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tom.
This is going to be really embarrassing if I get it wrong. It has Medicine Jar on it, though.
I do like Medicine Jar. That's a good song.
Yeah.
I do
but that's
like that
not
a
saying
lot.
anything about Paul.
Yeah, right. That is true. All right.
I could have said for all he fucking cares, oh, my favorite song is Frederic Armando by 1 in a Million. See, that's a joke exclusively for Paul Sally. Because
gotcha.
that's Jimmy McCulloch's old band.
Oh, gotcha.
From like the mid-'60s. It's actually a really good song.
Really? I'll have to check that out.
It's my favorite subgenre of 60s music called freak beat.
Wow. Okay, you are a punk ass kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just kidding.
Kid O'Toole, voice of reason.
Okay. Oh,
She's
man.
no fool.
That's right. I am no fool. All right. So, okay, to continue the rapid favorite album.
Favorite album. There's a correct answer. It's Revolver.
Yeah, that is correct. You are right. All right. Very good.
I feel bad, though, when I have, like, bigger name people on the show, like authors and shit, and I have to tell them that they're wrong.
Yeah, right.
When they say an album other than Revolver.
They're like, oh, I'm
like,
sorry.
I think, like, Bruce Spicer said, like, one of the Capitol albums. And I'm like, nope, sorry, it's Revolver.
Ooh, I'm sorry. Thanks for playing.
Yeah. Ooh, so close. Just like when people say, oh, it's Rubber Soul. No, it's not.
Yeah, and I love
even,
Rubber Soul.
What's even worse is when they say the American version of Rubber Soul.
Oh, yeah. Yep, I know. All right, least favorite.
Least favorite Beatles album. Please. No, Let It Be. Let It Be. I've said that before. That's the correct answer. Least favorite Beatles album is Let It Be.
I'd have to agree with that. I mean, it's still, we're talking about the Beatles, so like when you say least favorite, I mean there's still good stuff on it, and it's like
if you want to hear more on this argument, go listen to the episode with Scott Erickson.
Yeah, yeah.
We get into a proverbial brawl over
dear.
Let It Be.
Oh dear. Oh man. So, all right, just a couple more kind of bigger questions.
Okay.
So one of the questions you usually ask, and I do think it's very important, why do the Beatles still matter?
Because the music still resonates with people. It's to like kids my age. Like a lot of the music doesn't even sound particularly dated. It's not like Tommy James and the Shondells or something. Like the Beatles' music still resonates with people. And I think as long as the music resonates with people and the story of these four Dickensian street kids who made it, the Beatles will always matter. And plus, as long as there's nerds like us making podcasts and books about them, as long as we keep buying whatever scraping the bottom of the barrel, rule that Universal decides to give us, we'll buy it.
Yep, I have to agree.
No offense intended, Universal. I still buy it.
Yep, that is the truth.
Yeah, doesn't matter if I think the release is a sham or not. I'm still gonna buy it.
Yep, absolutely.
Beatles singles collection from last year.
Absolutely.
Talking about fucking uncreative.
Yeah, right. And having to do with your show, where do you see your show going in the future? Do what do you see? I mean, are you going to? Do you see it going in another direction? Do you see it expanding in any way? What do you see for this show?
Hey there, Ethan. Hey there, listeners of Fans on the Run. Congratulations on reaching your 50th episode, dude. I know I certainly thought you were never going to make it this far, but I can't speak for the wider Beatles community, can I? Though, over the various lockdowns, I think we've all become the wider Beatles community, haven't we? Of course, Ethan, I'd love to sit here and take the piss out of your podcast all day, but I really can't because I do enjoy it and I do listen to it. But let me just say, well done for getting this far, and hopefully your confidence will match your genuine skill and output, so that you won't have to celebrate any more needlessly arbitrary occasions such as this one. Peace and love to everyone listening right now, and Ethan, I wish you all the best in the future, unless you book Mark Lewison, in which case, you can go fuck yourself. Peace and love.
I'm going to keep doing the show as long as I find it fun. As long as I have fun doing it. And, I could do 5 more episodes, I could do 500 more episodes. As long as there are Beatles fans out there who are able to talk about, why they like the Beatles, I have guests. I mean, the only issue is I'm probably going to run out of album covers to start. Yeah. Even now, I had a bit of an existential crisis about that about a month ago. And it's like, okay, Ethan, don't panic. And I pulled up, a world discography of Beatles albums, pulled different covers, and it's like, okay, now you have enough Beatles album covers to make it through the nuclear winter.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, wow. I haven't resorted to, John Lennon Life with the Lions yet, but... Who says
my gosh.
I might. I will.
You could pull it off.
Yeah. I mean, I've already pulled off 2 virgins.
That's true.
Yeah.
If you could pull that off.
Yeah, well, I had the paper bag, so
Yeah, right. Yeah, thankfully you did. Yeah, you had the paper bag. That's true.
shout out to Anthony Rotuno for not getting mad.
No. Oh, I bet he loved it.
Oh, probably. I don't know. I'm just some guy.
No. Well, you're some guy that has an incredible show, and I thank you for playing along with This Is Your Life. I just wanted to kind of guide, do a little bit of a different kind of thing than you usually do, just to kind of just wanted to find out a little bit more about how you became a fan, and how you first discovered the Beatles, and how you who introduced you to them, and how you got into them, and I think not only me, but I think everybody listening, I think, found out a little bit more about what makes you tick.
Well, they don't want to know too much about what makes me tick, because then they'd be off-put it, or
no, but musically.
Yeah.
No, but I always find, and that's what I think is great about your show, because I think it's always, fascinating to hear about, musically, how people got into certain kinds of music, and how they, discovered music. I always love hearing that, and that's what makes your show so unique.
Oh, now that we're talking about the show, there's a couple really big thank yous I want to give. And then now that we're, at this momentous 50th episode, some really big early supporters of the show, Tom Pagnotti, after 2 or 3 episodes, he reached out to me and, offered his support. A lot of the early guests, like Piers Hemmingson, he's been, utterly fantastic. All of you Talk More Talk people, like you, Tom, Ken Michaels, Joe Mayo, and Ken Womack, for, being just nothing but supportive.
Our pleasure. Our pleasure.
And of course, especially big thanks to you and Susan Ryan for being kind of like my guinea pig think tank when it comes to Fans on the Run.
Oh, it's my pleasure. As I said,
there's hardly a major decision that goes by on this show that I don't ask you to, what you think.
Well, it's my pleasure. It's really, as I said, I think it's a great show, and it's been an honor to welcome you into the Beatle world.
And wow. I can't believe it's actually been 50 episodes.
I can't either.
No. Didn't Talk More Talk just hit 50?
Yeah. Yep.
See, that's what happens when you go up to 2 episodes a month.
I know.
When you
I don't know
accidentally
how you do
book yourself into a backlog that's way too long to manage.
Yeah, I don't know how you do it. I mean, you crank those episodes out. We could. We can do every, twice a month, and that's as much as we can do.
Actually, the biggest thank you I want to give is to everyone listening. Because without you, it's just me, crazy man, screaming into the void. Which it still might be that, but it's nice if there are people listening. And so if this is your first episode, or if it's your 50th episode, thanks for listening. And now I kind of regain control of the show a little.
Aww.
Kit, what would you like to plug? Okay. Once more, as if you haven't already fucking plugged 2 other times on the channel. And if you didn't plug it at the start of the episode.
Okay. Oh, man. Well, as I mentioned, I have my books, Talk More Talk, which is on every other Monday. You can find us on Facebook or talkmoretalk.com. We're also on YouTube, and you can find us on virtually any podcasting platform you can imagine, all the ones that Ethan's on.
Yeah.
And
don't put that on me. I don't know what I'm on.
If you're looking for Ethan's, we're probably there too. So
reach out to Podbean representatives and ask them where can the shows be found.
There you go. There you go.
What their distribution reach is.
Yep.
And God knows we've probably exhausted those options.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And also, I think this will still be open by the time this airs. I'm also going to be teaching a course beginning in January, late January, January 28th, on the history of Motown. I'll be teaching that online through Monmouth University. So if you're interested in learning more about the history of the label, it'll be 3 nights. And you can check out my Facebook page for more information on how to register for that. It'll be the dead of winter in January and February. You're going to be stuck inside, so why not join me for 3 nights of music and just fun, no tests, and listening to, as I said, great music, finding out about the label, and just, having a great time and escaping the cold weather for a few nights. So just go to my Facebook page and find out more about how to register for that. And I think that's everything.
I have one question for you.
Yeah.
Because you seem to have listened to quite a few Fans on the Run episodes.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite bit?
Oh.
Apart from your own.
Oh,
and apart
darn.
from the second one.
I go, darn, you're oh my gosh, I'm trying to think.
When in doubt, just name one of your co-hosts.
Oh, no. Well, because actually, my gosh, you're putting me in a difficult position because all my co-host episodes are fabulous. But oh gosh. There's so many. I like I actually like Anthony's. I thought that was, he's such a, Anthony Rotuno, because, he's such a fascinating person. And I thought your conversation with him, was really fascinating. I always am interested to hear what he has to say. And so I thought you guys really gelled, very well.
I think so too.
Yeah, really, that's really the thing is not only, is it, are they good episodes because the topic, that's great, but it's the chemistry, and
it's funny you bring up chemistry because I failed 10th grade science.
Oh no. Well, that episode in particular, I thought, you guys really had, great chemistry. You just, really played. I think those were all the episodes are great, but that one in particular, I just thought, you guys really, got along so well and really played off each other so well that it was a pleasure to listen to. They all were, but that one in particular, I thought was really fun to listen to.
Actually, I'm going to put that question forth to the audience, too.
Yes.
Leave a comment below. What has been your favorite episode so far? And, if you have any other comments, like you like the cover for this episode. Like, I kind of had that in mind from the very start. Like, there's been a few notable exceptions from the catalog that I haven't used. And I kind of knew from the beginning I wanted to do Sgt. Pepper for episode 50.
Oh,
then
yeah,
I'd actually have the people to put behind me.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
You have to do it.
I have to. I'm legally required.
Of course.
But now, I'm going to try and give my own spiel. Let's see if I remember how to do this. It's been so long. Okay. So, if you're watching this on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. If you aren't subscribed already, please hit that like button if you like the video. Even if you didn't, please hit that like button. Leave a comment with whatever you're thinking. If you have any suggestions for guests or episode ideas, reach out to me at fansontherunpodcast@gmail.com. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, or Facebook and Instagram are both Fans on the Run Podcast, and Twitter is Fans on the Run Pod, because I couldn't make my username long enough. But, the episode's available to stream everywhere. We've already been through this. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio.com, Podbean, Podbay, whatever the hell. Like, just Google Fans on the Run. Actually, on that last note, I want to give a special thank you to Rick Glover for coming up with the name Fans on the Run. Because I kind of stole it. And so I want to give you a special thank you for letting me borrow the name.
Rick's awesome.
Rick is awesome. And that's about all. Kit, thank you so much for, flipping the tables and grilling me.
It was my pleasure. It was a lot of fun and honored to be here for such a great milestone.
And to everyone else out there, I think you know what I'm going to say. You can go home now.
Fans on the Run is produced by Ethan Alexanian.
Additional voiceovers by...
Okay, one more intrusion. And trust me, this is a good intrusion for once. Actually, no, they've all been good intrusions, but this one is specifically good, so keep your ears peeled. I have a very special surprise, which I feel like this episode is the episode of, overindulgence. See, I'm so excited, I'm stumbling over all of my words. Now, some of you eagle-eyed people out there may have noticed that I've been making some reoccurring guest segments or spots on our good friends When They Was Fab with Ed Chen and Lonnie Pena.
Hey. I heard somebody calling me.
Oh, yes. Where did you come from? I thought you were in the other room.
I snapped my fingers, and here I am.
Well, there you go. That's the power of magic. Ed, could you enlighten me as to why you are here today? Do we have any sort of big announcement to make?
Well, I guess we could call it that. We have decided that 2 people is not enough in a podcast booth.
2 people is not enough for a podcast. And I say that as someone who hosts a podcast by himself.
And so myself and my co-host, Senor Lonnie Pena, have decided that we are going to add a third party permanently, a little.
And who might that be?
Well, it might be any number of people, but the one we settled on was you.
Really? What? Oh, man. It's not like I have not known for about a month. Audience, I'm breaking the fourth wall here. I'm trying to show you my level of excitement through a tableau.
And you're going to keep going with Fans on the Run.
Yeah, of course I'm going to keep going with Fans on the Run. So just, you know what? If you aren't even sick yet of my nasally voice, you get to hear me twice as much now. And that means right now, not only do you have to subscribe to Fans on the Run wherever you get your podcasts, if you haven't already, go subscribe to When They Was Fab everywhere else.
That is indeed a fact that people should listen to. Now, you
have to listen to him.
Indeed. I've got that deep authoritative voice.
Which I do not yet have.
So, I guess people who haven't listened to our show might wonder, well, what's the difference between your show and this other thing that Ethan's been doing for 50 episodes now?
Yes, I'm wondering that myself. What is the difference?
Well, we do have a lot of the same guests on.
Yes, it's one big happy Beatle family.
However, Ethan does his own thing on Fans on the Run. He's got a series of questions, and he's really sort of more interested in finding out the inner light, of his guests.
That is correct.
Whereas When They Was Fab, it tends to be a more topically based show.
Which, as you listeners out there will know, Fans on the Run is not exactly a show that stays in the same topic for the same place very long. But it is something I would like to do because I have been itching to, talk about specific things.
So if you want to hear 7 or 8 weeks about the Plastic Ono bandbox, or let's see, I don't know how many weeks we're going to be covering both Get Back and Let It Be when it finally comes out this fall?
I'll put that a solid 28.
Oh, okay, so you think the whole latter half of the year is going to be dedicated to that?
Most likely.
But and lest you think I'm joking, we just spent 5 weeks on the Flaming Pie Deluxe Edition this past year.
Well, we spent 2 weeks on the Wilburys.
Indeed, and that was just the videos.
One of them is forthcoming yet, the part.
Yeah.
So you'll find that sometime within the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's coming up. It's coming up soon.
It's coming out. It's coming out between now and sometime in 2022.
Well, we don't know what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, or why it's going to happen. We just cannot predict the future.
See, and that's why I think we're such a good fit.
Okay, great. Anything else? You think that's enough for your listeners?
I think that's more than enough for our listeners. So Ed, thank you for paying a little quick visit over here to our 50th episode spectacular. Even though we kind of heard from you a little bit.
Yes, you did. You did.
Doing your whole, Abbott and Costello routine with Lonnie.
Yeah, indeed. So join our Facebook group. Now you'll have yet another way to reach Ethan. And since he's the new guy, he gets to read the email. The email. The email. The email. The email. The email. The email.